Welcome back, folks. This is Shane. In today's video, I'm going to go through my guitar collection. I try to do this every year just to update everybody on what I've kept, what I've sold, and what new arrivals have turned up if you haven't watched my videos in a while. So I've got my I got my guitar cupboard open. My goal is always to be able to fit all the guitars in the cupboard, and I currently can, and I've sold a few this year, and I've kept the ones that I think will stand the test of time. So I'm not going to make this video too long, hopefully, but I'm going to spend a few moments talking about each of the guitars, what I love about them, what I don't like about them, if there's those flaws as well, and we'll take it from there. So let's get into it. So first up is my Gibson Les Paul Special in TV Yellow. This thing is an absolute monster of a guitar. I think this might be one of the best value to quality ratio guitars out there from Gibson. It's nice and light, it's got the P90 pickups. My only small criticism about the tone of this guitar is the neck pickup is a little bit on the dark sounding side, but it's really great for dirty blues tones. But if you want a really crisp and chirpy sort of neck pickup tone, this might not be the guitar for you. But what sold this for me was not only how great the neck feels in the hand and that vanilla cake smell, it's still there by the way, all this time later, but both pickups and bridge pickup on its own sounded so good that it was like just a done deal. It's not to say the neck pickup doesn't sound great, but it's a different type of tonality. I knew that going into this guitar, that it wasn't going to be one that, was the brightest of neck pickup in my collection. But you know what? It doesn't really matter because I feel like this is its own unique beast. And you know, I can get that great dirty blues sound out of it. It's awesome to play. I recently just had the nut filed down slightly on a couple of the higher strings just because I was getting some of that pinging sound in there. But otherwise, this has been a great guitar. It's definitely one of my favorites. And you're going to see this, now that I've got it back, coming up on more videos in 2021. Second up on the list is my #1 Fender Stratocaster. I say #1, but it's actually the only Fender Strat I have. And this is an absolutely beautiful guitar. I'm so happy I purchased this. This was one of those guitars that I waited months and months for. And then the one that I waited for got sold, unfortunately, so I waited months and months more, and then it turned up and I played it. I said, done. This guitar is fantastic. So this is a Fender American Original 50s Strat. This will be the Strat I have for a very long time. It's going to be around, yeah, it's just beautiful. It's got the soft V-neck. It's got nice frets considering it's a 50s spec. I think that's one of the major changes was the fret height. I think they're called tall vintage frets, possibly something like that, so they're not those little flat painted on ones. No hum cancelling positions either, which was something I could never live without a while back, but I've come to love that tone. There's something about it that makes it a little bit more on the bright side than having those in-between positions that stop the hum. Now, the trade-off is it'll buzz, but you know what? I love the tone of this, and when I don't play with like lots and lots of gain, while it is a little heavy for a Strat, you know what? The trade-off is you get a great tremolo system. I can still close it in the case with the arm back like this, which is awesome. And I think this is by far the best looking Stratocaster I've ever personally owned. And the neck was another one of the main reasons why I purchased this. It just felt great. These soft V's are something else. There's a bit of chunk in there, but they're not overly fat. So I think they'll probably appeal to a lot of people. Tuning reliability is great, comes in a great, you know, Fender tweed case as you saw before. Overall, beautiful instrument. Up next, we have the PRS SE Custom 24, and now it's the Custom 24 because the pickups, pots, and all that kind of stuff are being changed. Now, this used to have push-pull pots here, I think on the tone control, to kind of split the original humbuckers, but I never used that. I didn't like that whatsoever. Even when I bought it, I knew I'd never use that push-pull pot, so that's been gone. And now I have missing link audio pickups in here. These are the MLA Peacock set, which I can highly recommend, the Mason-Dixon set. Now, one of the interesting things, this was the first guitar that I purchased that I kind of went, this isn't really anything like I would normally go for. I usually have some sort of preconceived notion about what, or I used to have preconceived notions about what I liked in a guitar, but this was the first one that had a wide, thin neck, something I'd never tried, 24 frets, something I'd never go for normally, and I was like, man, this plays so great, and that kind of opened my mind to a lot of other instruments, and some of them you'll see on this video coming up. So yeah, the PRS SE Custom 24, I've played this more live than any of my other guitars since I've owned it because it's so easy to play and get all the way up to the end of the fretboard without any problems. it just feels easier. It really does. It just fights you less, even with the same gauge strings. Everything about it just feels easier, and the tones are great, and the tones are even better now thanks to these pickups. Now, these were sent out for review. If you missed that video, I'll leave a link up here and you can check them out. But yeah, overall, what a great guitar. I love the gig bag it comes in as well. It's definitely one of my favorites. There's a hidden hook in there, so you can hook it up onto a door or something if you so choose. But yeah, it's a very, very cool guitar. Not my most expensive one by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely one of my favorites. All right, up next, we have the Kiesel S6/Shane Johnny Highland combination guitar. This is very, very similar to a Telecaster aesthetically. It's also very similar to a Strat electronically, but it's also similar to a Telecaster electronically, so it does some different things. This was basically a custom guitar. I got approached from Brandon at Kiesel. He said, man, we'd love to get a guitar in your hands, being that you're not a metal player, basically. What would you like? And I looked through their website and I found the Johnny Highland guitar. I said, that's almost perfect for what I like, except, I wanted a few different changes on there, and the end result was this, and I couldn't be happier with this. This is up there with the PRS SE in terms of just ease of playing. The tones on this are fantastic. It's already one of my favorite guitars out there. We've got the Johnny Highland pickups. Interestingly enough, instead of the regular Strat wiring, we get a Tele pickup combination of bridge and neck pickup in the second position. So you don't get those two together, which I think is great, because if I want that, I play my Strat. So it's really cool that it's very different in those regards. And the bridge pickup also has a bass plate on it as well, so you get a very Telecaster-like sound. What I love about, there's so much to love about this. It's light, and it's also got a really beautiful sort of oil satin finish kind of feeling neck that just feels amazing in the hands. A roasted maple neck. It's light. It's so much lighter than my Strat, which is why if I do a 3-hour gig, I'll be taking this a lot of the time, because it's just that much easier to, have strapped around your neck for the entire night. But locking tuners, a tremolo system on this is as good as the PRS SE, which is arguably one of the most reliable tremolo systems on any of the guitars I've got. This is as good or better. I've had no problems with this. Always with my tremolo systems, I have them flush to the body, so I have to actually push it. I never like the floating ones in case I break a string, and then it's game over. But, look at this gig bag as well that it shipped in. This was fantastic. Yeah, I knew nothing about Kiesel guitars other than a few of the guys I'm friends with on YouTube use them, but being that I'm not really like a hard rock player, I wasn't that aware of this brand. It's great to see they're making different stuff, and this is easily one of my favorite guitars. I'll never be getting rid of this. All right, here we go. Everyone's seen this a million times, but this is still one of the best guitars I've ever owned. This was the first kind of above the sort of stock American series guitars that I ever owned, and I'll have this until I can't play anymore. This is fantastic. This is my Fender 52 reissue Telecaster, loaded with a Danny Gatton Joe Biden pickups. Nope, Biden, man. No. I see that in the comments all the time. So yeah, this is almost a hybrid now of what it once was through use. You can see all the scuff marks. This isn't relicking through any process other than playing it for 12 years. So I've had it somewhere around there. I'm not exactly sure how long I've had it. Maybe 11 years actually. But over time, I wore the frets out, so I now have the stainless steel 6105 frets. I've also changed all the wiring in here. Actually, Dr. Rick helped me put the pickups in originally. I tried other pickups, and I went back to the Joe Biden Danny Gatton ones. It's always good to have a guitar that has noiseless pickups in a Tele configuration or a Strat configuration, in my opinion. And I love these. I think these hold their own with the best of the single coils I've ever tried. Now, while they look like rail pickups, they're not. They're actually really low output pickups. You'd be kind of surprised just how low output they are. I think I measured them and they were somewhere around 4K, which isn't that hot. So yeah, they've got the vintage styling. Actually, the bridge pickup is the modern one, but they also sell a regular. You have one volume control and one tone control, and that's also been changed out through use. I just needed to change the pots. And as you can see, we've got the slanted switch on here, which is a great mod. This is from Rock Rabbit Guitars. I reviewed one of these maybe I don't know, I'm going to say 7 or 8 years ago on the YouTube channel, maybe longer, I'm not too sure. Or maybe not quite that long, but it's been 5 years plus easily. And they sent out this plate. I was like, this is great. Like, why didn't Telecasters or Fender use this in the past? But it makes getting to the switch a lot easier, especially in that down position. You can get under it and flick it back up a lot easier. So yeah, I really dig that. I also changed the input jack, I guess you'd call it, with a better one. I can't remember the brand name of this one, but it's one that you kind of screw in and it just works really well. So this guitar this was the first Fender I found as a lefty with a fatter neck than that's, you know, the traditional standard modern, what's it called? Modern C shape? Yeah, man, I don't really like that neck shape a lot. You know, it's just personal choice. Some people love it, but this has a bit of a fatter neck. And I was like, man, when I played this in San Francisco, I knew I was in trouble. It took me about 5 minutes to realize that I'm going to buy this guitar. Now, stock pickups were pretty good, but you know, with higher gain, they squealed a bit. And for me, that was unusable. So changing these pickups was one of the best decisions. This will be a guitar I have until the end. Now, speaking of Tele or T-style inspired electric guitars, I have this really cool Gibson here. Check this out. It's one like you've never seen before. Look at that. It's not a Gibson, by the way. I picked that guitar case up secondhand for about 10 bucks. So this is a pure Salem Mendiola. The company that makes this located in Miami, Florida, but these are made in Korea. As you can probably tell by looking at it, it's sort of reminiscent of a Reverend guitar. I believe they're made in the same factory. As part of my guitar case is stuck in the headstock there. This, quality-wise, is fantastic, and I still stand by the fact that I think this is the best mini humbucker I've ever played. Bridge pickup on this is my go-to. Now, so if you're familiar with Andy Martin, who's been on YouTube forever, the voice of YouTube, he's also got one of these, and we were talking a little bit about the bridge pickup in this Attack Captain mini humbucker. And what can I tell you? It's great. This guitar feels a whole lot more premium than what they charge for it as well. It's got the locking tuners, a beautiful finish on the neck. We've got the sparkle body and somewhat of a low output neck Tele pickup, I should say, not humbucker. So it's a single coil, it's very low output. It's kind of reminiscent of that of my 50s Telecaster. So you get that, but then you also get the sound of doom on this bridge pickup. It's great. And the other thing I really love about this is the fact that we get one volume control, one tone control, and a 3-way toggle switch, and that is it. You get the binding around the body here and on the fretboard and neck area as well. So it's a really great quality instrument. I can highly recommend checking these out. I'm gonna leave links to all these guitars in the description below. Check these guys out if you're looking for something a little bit different. They've got lots and lots of cool instruments. All right, here we go. Here's a guitar that I'm gonna start playing more in 2021. It's been recently modified, and it's so much better now than it's ever been. And you know what? The only reason I haven't been playing this so much lately is because I've got a lot of other options, which I feel fortunate for. There's other guitars that I just keep grabbing out, and I don't think to use this, but I've used this a whole lot in 2020 on videos. Also, this is my Tokai Love Rock LS110, which is a Japanese-made Les Paul inspired guitar. As you can see from the headstock, it's very, very Gibson. I don't know how we get these in Australia, yet other countries can't get them, but there must be some sort of legal loophole with that. But this guitar is fantastic. So the recent mod I've had done to it was putting a treble bleed in the actual electronics, which allows you to get more top end when you turn down. It's one of the best mods you can make to a guitar that gets muddy, especially in a humbucker guitar. As you roll the volume off, the top end remains as it would if the guitar was on full. So it's really, really usable and easily one of my favorite guitars of all time. I was kind of on the fence about keeping this at one point because I had the PRS and a few other guitars, and I was thinking, do I really need to keep this? I had the treble mod done, and it completely changed my mind on it. I'm like, man, this is as good as any guitar out there. And after playing a lot of Gibsons, a lot of Epiphones, all that kind of stuff in 2020, I can honestly tell you this is up there with the best of them. I also used to own a custom shop guitar from Gibson. It was a gold top, and in the hand this feels identical to it. It doesn't sound the same because the other one had P90s, but just in terms of feel and all that kind of stuff, it's great. I did have to have the switch replaced. I think one of the things that Tokai skimp on, and I've noticed this now twice, is their toggle switches. Over time, they kind of stop being, the tension goes out of them, and you can almost like breathe on it and it will switch positions. So yeah, that's one of the biggest downsides of the Tokai guitars, but in every other way, these are killer. I've not changed any of the other electronics or anything on that other than the treble bleed mod. So yeah, fantastic guitar. If you can find these in your part of the world, check them out. They also make a Chinese range of these instruments as well. But I kind of think, you know, rather than sort of hunting down the internet trying to find those, just get an Epiphone. They're about the same kind of quality, and the new Epiphones are probably better than the Chinese versions of these, but these are fantastic. These are really like a US Gibson, but with, you know, obviously a different name on the headstock, and if you can live with that, you'll definitely get a kick out of them. Think Bernie, Greco, Orville, all those kind of guitars, pretty much is what the Tokai is. All right, up next, we have the Little Crow Corvinho. Now, we haven't seen this guitar as much in 2020, not because I don't love it, it's just because I've been doing a lot of guitar videos and also been playing other stuff. But I love this instrument, it's one of my favorites, hands down. One of the cool things about it is the Briley pickups. They're Australian-made pickups. They're matched, so we get a mini humbucker in the neck and a Tele bridge pickup. We get the F-holes as well, which I think adds a little bit more sustain, especially at high volume when you get that sort of interaction, sort of feedback almost loop going on. It's really cool. It's nice and light. The neck feels fantastic. And this was basically the prototype. Now, it's called the Little Crow Corvinho SD. The SD is my initials. I had some input, I'd say some input into the design of this, but Little Crow, the wizards behind this, all I did was say what I like on a guitar, basically. They approached me and said, hey, we want to make a guitar, what do you like? And this was basically the end result. And over time, as Little Crow kind of changed things in their production of these instruments, and they're making them better now than I think ever. You know, you might remember the original neck had a high gloss black paint on it, and so did the headstock. And this neck is one of their most recent ones, and it feels so good. We also get the upgrade of the locking tuners, and what can I tell you, man? This is just a great guitar to play. It does everything right. It's really great to see a company start out, you know, from making furniture to going into instruments, and then over time, just how much better they get really quickly. They've nailed this, and I really feel like this is a guitar I'll never be parting with, and it's a guitar I need to play more. I actually cut a live album years ago with this, and yeah, it just feels as good to play today as it did when it came in. Maybe better because the neck is now even nicer, but yeah, this has a real, so don't mean this disrespectfully compared to the Fenders. The Fenders are a really polished instrument. This feels like some dude made it at his house. You know, it feels like a much more handmade instrument because it is over something like a production line guitar. So that will either appeal to you or it won't. But yeah, I really dig it, and it's a guitar that I plan on playing more. Coming up in 2021, I got a lot of guitars here, but not as many as last year. So this will hopefully I'll see a little bit more action coming up this year. So maybe my number one guitar would still be this, even though you don't see me playing this much on the channel. I love this guitar. It's so good. The reason why I don't play it much is I've been sitting down playing a lot lately, and the Flying V from Gibson, it doesn't really allow itself to be played sitting down as easily as it does when you stand up and play. But man, this, almost within minutes of seeing, they actually had this on the wall at Sky Music. I walked in and they just put it on the wall, like literally went click, and I saw it, I went, I gotta try this. So I went down, I played it for maybe 4 minutes, and I knew instantly I was gonna buy it. The only small tweak I had to make was bringing up this Tune-o-matic bridge on one side, just half a turn, and that was it. It was perfect. I've still not done anything to this. It's light. It has the Gibson Burstbucker pickups, which in my opinion are the best pickups that Gibson make. They just really get that right. I think this has the perfect amount of chirp and still having the fullness and fatness. It sounds great clean, and it also sounds great with a whole lot of distortion. And yeah, as a lefty, you know, I owned a Flying V years ago for about 3 months. I just couldn't get used to it. It was one of the, I think like the studio style models, but they didn't have a finished neck like this on the back. You could really feel all the grain, and it was super sticky to play, and yeah, I just couldn't get into it. I liked it tonally, but I didn't love it. in terms of how it felt to play. And then I got this, and yeah, what can I tell you? This is everything I love about the PRS in terms of its playability. I can get all the way up easier on the Flying V than I could on any of the other guitars. It's super light, the pickups are great, it's nice and simple. We get the two volume control, sorry, and one tone control, and a 3-way toggle switch as well. I still haven't taken the plastic off the scratch plate, other than I didn't realize it was still on there. So yeah, you get a cool hard case with it. The only downside of it is that it's sort of not fun to play seated, especially if you're short. You got to sit forward on the chair and then do this. So that's a deal breaker for some people, but I stand up and play when I play live, and that's how this gets used mostly when I do play it. It's just stand up, put the guitar strap on. You can also sit down with the guitar strap on, and that will also help sort of position it properly. But yeah, this is another guitar I'm gonna have for a very long time. It's just totally fantastic. It smells great. The tuning reliability is so much better than a lot of Les Pauls. So I don't know if there's a difference with the angle off the headstock or whatever. I'm not that big into specs, but yeah, in terms of tuning reliability, this is fantastic. And if you've been thinking about getting a Flying V, check out some of my videos. I'll link the live clips up in the cards here, and you can check those out. But yeah, very, very cool guitars. Let me know what you think of this crazy looking shape. All right, up next we have another Tele. This is the Fender American Original Telecaster, and it's got the butterscotch finish, and this looks very similar to that of my 52, but it is quite a bit different. Some of the biggest differences are the neck on this is actually fatter and nicer in the hand. So this guitar, when I played it, I was devastated. It was better to play than my 52. I say better, it's just, it is different, but better is all subjective. But when I picked this up, I instantly knew it was a really great guitar. And that's kind of what inspired me on getting that Strat as well, because the Players series are like custom shop guitars without that price tag. And we get basically two bog standard Tele pickups. The neck one has a lot of chirp, which is what I like. It also sounds really fat and full. And the bridge pickup rocks. There's nothing to really say about this that really hasn't been said before. You've seen it a million times on the channel. I just like it because it's a little bit lighter than my 52, and I wanted a Telecaster from Fender that also had just straight up single coil pickups, because there's something magical about them when they sound right. I love the Joe Barton and Danny Gatton pickups, but these I love as well, and I have no plans on modding this guitar unless it requires something to be changed. You know, I always get asked the question like, what's the first mod I should do to this guitar or that guitar? If it works, nothing. If you like it, don't do anything to it. And that's how I feel about this. It comes in a great tweed hard case as well. I've got a few of those now, and they're great. You also get the little ashtray thing you can, the little cover you can put on as well to make it look really retro. But this is a beautiful guitar that I haven't played live enough since I've got it. I've done a lot of videos with it at the house, but now that we're starting to get back into playing live music here in Australia, at least in Victoria, Australia, I'm going to be taking this out and playing it more. There's so many live videos I want to sort of showcase on the channel in 2021, and I don't remember if I've used this in a whole lot of videos of any live footage. So that's, man, I got some guitars that really need to see some action this year. All right, up next we have another Tele inspired guitar. This is the Vola Vasti. Now, on the surface this might look like a bizarre kind of Telecaster in its shape, but this has grown on me so much. When I first saw it, I was like, or any of these sort of modern style bodies like this, I think, oh man, I'm not sure how I feel about that after being, you know, just very boring with my guitar selection over the years. But after you play one of these, you realize, man, this thing's friggin' great. It plays just as well as my Fenders, but it has a few tricks up its sleeves as well. So one of the best things about this, and what sort of separates it from the Telecasters from Fender, is on the bridge pickup here, it has what looks like a Joe Barton Danny Gatton pickup. It's actually still a single coil pickup, but you can have a boost on the volume control here. So you pull this up and you get a passive boost. So no batteries required, no place to put a battery or anything. So it's just like a great Telecaster. It has a great sounding neck pickup as well. Surprisingly, this has lower output than my 50s American Original Telecaster. So if you're gonna think this is like a a really hot modern Tele type guitar. It isn't. It's not like that whatsoever. Now in terms of the tuners on this guitar, they're not the vintage ones. You've got the hole through ones, they're Goto, and they work really well on this guitar. I've also got one of their Strats, which you'll see in just a moment, but in terms of feel, it's got what I really love, a 50s-ish profile neck. It's kind of different to like a Fender. It does feel different in the hand, but it's fat and it feels great. It's also very light compared to a lot of the other guitars that you've seen in this video. So that's a huge bonus as well. I really need to get some live footage of these, and I'll be showcasing this on the channel coming up this year. Another guitar that is like the best mix of vintage and modern electronics. I'll leave links to Vola in the description below. It'll be through to 10 Solo Music in the US if you want to check that out. They're affiliate links. If you click on them, they help support the channel. So thank you so much. And yeah, these are just really great instruments. Made in Japan, which is where my Tokai is made. And I don't think I've ever picked up a Japanese-made guitar that was junk. So if you have, let me know in the comments. But yeah, the Vola Vasti is definitely one that is unique enough to separate it from everything else in the guitar collection. You'll either like this or you won't visually. It's obviously probably not going to be for everyone just in terms of its visual, but I love it. I think it's a really nice guitar. Lucky last of the regular guitars, we have the Vola Oz 22, and as you can see right now, I've got the plate off the back, which is sitting on my desk over here. So I had to tighten up the tremolo just a little bit, and I'm going to leave the back of that off for now just to see how we go. But this is awesome. This is like the best mix of a vintage and modern guitar. Again, we get the humbucker in the bridge and 2 single coil pickups. What really separates this from, say, my Fender is the fact that we get hum cancelling positions. Obviously hum cancelling in the bridge, hum cancelling here, hum cancelling on these two as well. So you get pretty much a noise-free guitar in all but 2 positions. Neck has a little bit of buzz, and so does middle. But being that these pickups have a little bit more attitude, the buzz isn't as prolific as it would be on the sort of vintage spec Strat pickup. So I love that. I love the fact that this also has maybe the best neck out of almost any other guitars. The Vola Oz series of guitars are fantastic. They've changed from this maple fretboard now, a maple neck, to a roasted maple one, which Dr. Rick actually has one of those, and I know a few of the subs do as well, and I love this. This is, in terms of how the body is finished, if you've ever picked up, say, an American, what was they called, the Fender Deluxe Strats from years ago, the 2-tone sunburst one, that's kind of how this feels. Like it's got the same quality of finish, which were some of my favorites from Fender. The neck on this is just fantastic. Now, I'm actually going to replace the tuners on this. These are slanted tuners, and they've been okay, but one of them isn't quite right. So I'm going to put locking tuners on this guitar and just be done with it, because it's a guitar that I really, really love. And it's not only does it feel nice and comfortable to play, it's not overly heavy either. It's got the big neck, and just playability, it's great. As soon as I took this out of the case, I was very, very impressed with it. Vola have sent this out for the review as well. They let me hold on to it. And I'm under no obligation to keep stuff or whatever, but being that it's so different to what, you know, my Fenders are, it's just a no-brainer to keep this. There's always time for a guitar with a single coil neck and middle pickup and a humbucker in the bridge. I dig it. So let me know what you think of this guitar. And the last guitar on the list is this. This is the ALP Leaf 200 travel guitar. Now, as you can probably see from the case, it's tiny. So this is a perfect guitar to take with me traveling, and that's why I kept it. If I'm gonna go overseas and I actually need to take a guitar with me, other than one that's a full-size one where I need either a big gig bag or a hard case, which sucks traveling with a hard case. I've done that before. It's terrible. It's just no fun. So this would be the ultimate guitar for that. Now, visually, this might look more like a metal guitar or something like that, but it isn't. It's very Strat-like in its design, very similar also to the Vola in it's got this cutout at the back, but it also has no headstock. So it's a headstock-less guitar, and you tune it up using these things down here. Now, obviously, to keep the size small, they didn't want to put a full-size headstock on there. Otherwise, it would be just like, wouldn't be that much shorter, I guess, than a regular guitar, but it is. It's light, it comes with strap locks. these humbuckers are as good as the Gibson humbuckers. No kidding, they really nailed the sound of these things. And visually, I know already this won't be for everybody. I also know a lot of people didn't see the original video, so I'm gonna link it up here. Go check it out. I think this thing absolutely cooked. I was quite disappointed that more people didn't see it, because tone-wise, feel-wise, this is just unreal. And it doesn't, once you get playing this, it doesn't feel any different to any of my other guitars. The only thing that gets me is I'm not used to having no headstock. So sometimes I have to think about where to play an E chord. It feels like you could almost play it here, if you know what I mean, because there's nothing there. So yeah, that just took me a little while to get the feel for. But overall, it's light, the tones are great, it's small. You know, if you're looking for something portable that you can take with you, you can also unbolt the neck if that's something that you want to do. But yeah, in comparison to, say, I'll show you this. In comparison to, say, the Vola, you get a sense of the size difference, right? So yeah, it's a full 1/3 shorter than a regular guitar, and that's because of the body design more than anything. So yeah, check out ALP guitars. You know, I don't see too many people talking about these. I know Kafir, one of my good friends, did a video on one as well, and Dr. Rick did one of a different model. But yeah, check out this if you're looking for a travel guitar. It's just something completely different. So there you have it. That's all of my guitars as of the start of 2021 or late 2020. You can look at that either way, because it's late 2020 as of shooting this. So in terms of these instruments, I have no plans on selling any of them. They're all unique enough and different enough to stay in the collection. I just don't want to buy 3 or 4 of the same type of guitars. I used to have 2 or 3 Strats. I was thinking, why have I got 2 or 3 Strats? So one great Fender Strat is awesome. One great Vola Strat is awesome. And then when you look at those guitars against each other, they're very different in terms of their setup. So that's what I'm thinking about these days. Instead of buying multiples of the same guitar with similar pickups, getting very different instruments, and it's very cool to do that. It means that you've got any assortment of sounds that you might need for recording, or for what I do here, making albums or doing YouTube videos or playing live. There's something that will do almost everything in the collection. So as of right now, I'm pretty happy with what I've got. There's nothing that I'm like really busting to go buy when it comes to electrics. The only thing I would add possibly is a Gretsch, or maybe a G&L. So there's 2, there's 2 coming up that I'm sort of thinking about, but I'm gonna save doing anything silly until I can travel again. If I get over to Jerry's Lefty Guitars or Southpaw Guitars in 2021, I might do something while I'm away, but as of right now, that's about it. I would also, if I find locally and I get to check it out, an Epiphone Casino, I would be very inclined to pick up that guitar as well. It's one I've been looking for a long time, but I don't want to import a guitar I've never played. I don't like the idea of that, especially with the COVID thing, and you know, the shipping's a lot less reliable, and it's just very slow right now. So this is everything in the collection that I have right now, excluding my bass guitars. That will be an actual demo review video coming up. I have 2 basses which I use on all of my videos, so yeah, you'll see a video coming up about those. But yeah, I hope you like this video. All the best for 2021. Catch you soon. See ya.